If you're running an e-commerce company, then understanding and managing your cash conversion cycle is going to be extremely important. If you don't understand this, it can lead you to put too much money into inventory, too much money into the wrong products, which can stop you from scaling, or at worst case, can cause you to be profitable, but actually run out of money, not be able to pay your bills and go bankrupt. I've seen many e-commerce companies not understand this properly and end up in a downward spiral. And I'm also currently trying to pull one of our clients out of this situation. And so I've been going through this with them, and I thought it might make a helpful video for today. So, hey, I'm Ryan. I am a senior paid ads specialist and creative director at a marketing agency here in Sydney. If you're interested in working with me or my agency, you can get a free audit of your marketing by clicking on the link down below. Now, what is cash conversion cycle and how does it work? So if you look at any videos out there, there are formulas on it, and I will go through those formulas, but I think it's more useful to look at a situation first that is more common to e-commerce brands and to analyze this together. So let's say we start with $100 and we buy $100 of inventory, and we're able to sell that inventory for double $200, which then gives us a profit of $100. So we'll write profit up here of $100. And let's say we put that $200 back in, buy another $100 worth of inventory, and we repeat the cycle, right? And then we make $100 profit and then reinvest 100, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to do this 10 times. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm going somewhere with this, don't worry, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we're pretending that this is happening all the way down. I just didn't write it all out, but we're doing it 10 times. So at the end of the day, we end up with $1,000 in profit from our starting point of $100. And usually with cash conversion cycles, you'll look at net profit. We're looking at gross profit just to make the math more simple and to give you that understanding. But ultimately, you'd want to apply this to the net profit of your business, and you need to be net profitable in order for this to really work and to show its magic. Now, what we can see here is with each time that we've done this, we've reinvested $100 into stock in order to sell more of it, and we've done it 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Yeah, so we've spent $1,000 on stock, we've made $2,000 in revenue and $1,000 in gross profit. Let's say we were to take, rather than doing this 10 times, we were to just start with $1,000 and invest that into stock. So let's say that this time period here for all of this, right, is, let's just call it 1 year. And then let's say that we invest that $1,000 into stock up front. And then over the course of that year, we sell $2,000 worth of stock and we make $1,000 in profit. Yeah, profit. So where a lot of e-commerce businesses get confused, especially if they're starting out, is these two situations look basically identical to each other. Because in each situation, you've invested $1,000 worth of stock. So overall here, we invested $1,000 of stock, right? We made $2,000 in revenue and we get $1,000 in gross profit. So what is the difference here? The difference here is the return on investment. Because here we made $1,000 profit on $1,000 invested. So that's 100% growth, or we 2x'd our money. Yeah. In this situation, we made $1,000, but we actually only invested $100 of our own money, because then we got $200 back from selling the product from our customers. And then we just put that $100 back in, and the rest was profit. So we actually only ever put in $100 of our own money, and that $100 just got recycled 10 times and then made us $1,000. So what this means is this is actually 10 times growth on the initial money we invested. And so where this becomes powerful for e-commerce brands is here we've got $1,000, sorry, tied up in inventory for the whole year, right? 1 year. And obviously, as you sell some of it, you can, reapply it the following month, but not the full amount. And so to make the math simple, we're just going with the full amount. And so this one, we've got $1,000 tied up. This one, we only have $100 tied up, right? And we got 10 times growth with that. This one, let's say our whole budget is $1,000. We can just do this in 2x in 1 year. But let's say we were able to do this situation up here on multiple products. So let's say we do it on this product, let's say like product 1, product 2, spent $100 on product 3, etc. Right? All the way down to $100 on product 10. Now, if each of these could do the same as the first scenario, which is in a year and 10 cycles, we could make $1,000, then times by 10, we would then be making $10,000, right? Instead of this $1,000 profit that we made when all of our cash was fully tied up in here. Now, if cash is not an issue, then, cash conversion cycles aren't as important, but cash is always an issue when you're trying to scale. And you'll see as we go through the formula that the best businesses actually have a negative cash conversion cycle. And it's less about increasing your gross profit, and it's more about getting those cycles through. So what you'll find is that you'll have maybe one killer product that does the best, or maybe you've got 2 or 3 of them that make a good amount, and then you'll have kind of diminishing returns on products. So let's say this one only generates 800 all the way down here. This one ends up in basically this situation where we just 2x our money over the course of a year. So you'll have some products that work well, and you'll have some products that don't work as well and kind of take longer cycles, even if you're spending the same amount of money in inventory. And so that's where like managing your inventory gets really important. But this is kind of the core concept of the cash conversion cycle, is that if we can cycle through our products faster, rather than reinvesting all of our cash of our business into all of this stock, whether it's a year's worth of stock or 6 months or 3 months or 1 month, when you can get that down as low as possible, then you can cycle faster, which means you need less upfront cash. This situation, we only need 100 versus 1,000 in order to get the same amount of profit. And what that allows you to do is get a better return on investment, and allows you to scale faster with less cash constraints. Because if we're in this situation, how much cash do we need in order to make 10 grand profit? We would actually need $10,000 cash. But if we're in this situation, how much cash do we need to make 10 grand gross profit? We'd only need $1,000. So in this situation, the cash requirements of the business to put into inventory is 10 times that of this business. So can you see how this business would scale to grow so much harder than this business? So when you get these cycles right, then you can really scale. So the formula is this: DIO, and I'll explain this. It's days it takes to produce and sell inventory. Right? So how long does it take to produce inventory and to sell it? You've got to place your orders, then it's got to get made, then it's got to ship to you, then it's got to go through customs, all of this sort of stuff. Then you plus DSO, which is days sales outstanding. Basically days to get paid. Days to get paid from customer. So if you're in e-commerce, then this is generally going to be just a couple of days from when they purchase it to when Shopify releases the money. If you are at a local market and someone buys it off you with cash, then this would effectively be zero. However, if you're selling services or if you're selling products and someone doesn't pay you for 30 days, then this would be 30 days. Yeah. And then we minus DPO. I really don't like these abbreviations. They're not easy to remember. Days payable outstanding. Or basically days to pay supplier. Right? So how many days does your supplier give you before you have to pay them? If you're a small e-commerce store, then you're probably going to have to pay up front, and this is going to be zero. Whereas you have situations with bigger retailers like Walmart, for example, where their days to pay the supplier might be 90 days, and the days it takes to sell their inventory might be 60. And then they get money from the customer straight away. So let's have a look at these different sort of examples and how it affects our cash conversion cycle. And so I had a customer, and some of the products that he makes were more complex to get made. So the days it takes to produce and sell inventory was 90 days, right? And then the days outstanding, let's just call it 2 days. And minus like the days to pay his supplier, he needs to pay a 20% deposit upfront, plus then he has to pay in order to get the goods shipped to him. So let's just say it's zero for this, right? So then his cash conversion cycle is 92 days. And what this means is he can really only do this 4 times per year. And that will determine the amount of cash he needs in his business based off how much of this product we're selling. He had another product that was simpler, but still a bit complex, and that was 45 days. And then he had another one that was really easy to get and much lighter, so he could air freight it as well and get it through customs a lot quicker. And again, with these, we'll just say this 45-day one, I think he actually had terms where he could pay 30 days later, was it? And this one, let's just say he's got to pay up front. So 45, 47. So this one's 17 days. And this one's 17 days as well. So can you see how in this scenario, this one you could only do 4 times a year, whereas these two scenarios, even though this one took 3 times as long to make as this one, because of the terms, basically he can cycle through this every 17 days. And let's use like Walmart for our example. So let's say days it takes to produce and to sell all the inventory is 60 days, plus they get the money from the customer up front, minus 90 days equals minus 30 days. And so when you're in a negative situation like this, it means that you can actually finance your growth from your suppliers, because you don't have to pay your suppliers for 90 days and you've got 30 days leeway in order to do that, or 30 days of basically extra cash in order to reinvest into your business. And so this is the cash conversion cycle and why it's so important. And to apply this to your business, again, it still might be a little bit confusing, but the fact that we can move through these products in 17 days, or what's that? Nearly, like that would be 30, nearly 6 times as fast as this one, is these two products are identical in terms of price, in terms of margin, in terms of how well they're selling, right? Which product should we invest in order to grow the business? Yeah. So this client had a bunch of products that were quite complex to make, that took quite a long time to make, that he is selling for the same price as products that are much easier and faster to make. And these products were selling kind of equally as well. So what this tells us is if we're in a cash strap situation for this business, it makes a lot more sense for us to focus on one of these two in order to get the cycles down faster than to focus on this one. And let me just show you in terms of net margins for this, right? So let's say we got the 90-day product. And then let's say we've got let's just call it 15-day product. I know it was 17, but let's say it was 15. And then let's say 15-day product. Again, this would usually be done on net margins, not gross margins. So we can kind of look at net margins. Let's say, to make it simple, net margins were 10% and the product sells for $100. So that means net profit is $10 if we're doing that 4 times a year, right? Then we can make $40, or our return on investment for this product over the course of the year is 40%. Then let's say we've got this 15-day product, and let's say the margin on this is actually worse. And let's say that our net margin here is only 5%, even though the product still sells for $100, right? So this means we're only making $5 net profit when we sell this product. However, we were able to do this 4 times a year up here, and 15 goes into 96 times, if I'm right. 15, 30, 90. So 4 times 6 is 24. So we can then do this 24 times in order to make $120. So then the return on investment of this one over the course of the year ends up being 120%. So you can see that even though your net margins could be half, your profit could be significantly more on the initial cash that you invested. And then that can allow you to scale and grow your business faster. Now, the downside of this is that if you're doing 4 cycles versus 24 cycles, then there's going to be more time and effort involved in doing that. And there can be issues if you get delays and you run your stock too thin, then there can be issues there. But yeah, let's say, this 15-day product was, how bad do we need to make it to still achieve the same thing? So let's say this 15-day product was $100 and we want to make $40 on this at 24 times. Man, I don't have a calculator with me. I don't know if I can do that. Can I? It'll be 10 divided by 6. So call it, I don't know. Let's say we've only got like 1.5% net margins on this, which means we make $1.50 times by 24. So that'll be 24 plus 12, right? So it'll be $36. Or a 36% return on your investment. So you can see for this one and how this shorter cycle basically led to the same return on investment as something with like a much higher margin than this one here. So often when you're in e-commerce, the biggest focus that you have is on margins, and for good reason. You want to make sure that you can maximize your margins, but sometimes the margins aren't as important as the cash conversion cycle and how quickly you can recycle that money back into the business and how many times you can get this margin, because 1.5% times 24 is very similar to 10% times by 4. And what it meant for this client is that we'll focus on these products more because the margins are actually very similar to this 90-day product up here. But what it also means is with this client, there's some flexibility in the pricing and how much he charges. And so what it means is we can actually do the backward math to say, all right, why are we selling like these 2 products, honestly, are almost identical. Like this one is it's a bit more complex with the way that it's made. But in terms of the function that they serve, this one is definitely a little bit nicer, but they're pretty close to each other and they're pretty close in price. I think he's charging $5 or $10 different, and we're kind of around this $100 mark. And so what we can then look at with this client is to say, all right, this one is the one that we're going to focus on. And rather than selling this one at the same price as this one, because we can think about this cash conversion cycle, right? We might be limited in how much we can charge for it. But rather than charging 100 and 100, we might decide to charge $150 for this one, which will then push our net margins up on this one, which ultimately will push our return on investment up as well. So if you have flexibility in pricing, then, and you're not sure how to price some of products, which is what happened with this client, is we can look at the products that are less complex that we can cycle through faster. We can make those ones more affordable and push the market towards them as much as possible. And the other ones that take longer, well, we increase the prices. So when we do sell them, we're still really happy to sell them or the 15-day one because we're ultimately going to get a good return on investment otherwise. But the issue that this client had is pretty much most of the marketing focus and the product sales were all going to these products that were kind of 90 days, 60 days, these sort of cycles, and not enough attention was going to the products that had faster cash conversion cycles. So I hope this gives you a bit of an understanding. I'm sure there's some videos out there that do the math a lot better than me. I think this kind of conceptually covers it and helps you understand why it is so important. And you can go ahead and do some more research to really understand it in detail, understand all the finances and everything behind it. Don't just take this math as gospel or this math, talk to your finance experts. I am not an accountant. But yeah, hopefully going through this, you can see how it's so important and how sometimes, doing something like getting better terms from your supplier can take something that honestly is not that great. Like the cash conversion cycle here would have been like 1/3 of what this one was. But if you can get better terms on certain things from your suppliers, then you can lower your cash conversion cycle, and you can scale that product faster, which is pretty cool. Or if you're really good or really big, then sometimes you can get into these situations where you have a negative cash conversion cycle, and that can really help you to scale. I hope this has been interesting for you. If you would like a free audit of your business and the marketing behind it, again, go ahead, click the link in the description down below. And if you have any questions, please also leave them in the comments down below. Or if you want to correct any mistakes that I've made in this, please do so. I'm always eager to learn, as is everyone else who watches this channel.